The city of Aloria floated above the clouds like a crown of glass and light. Its towers shimmered in the golden air, reflecting the twin suns that burned gently on the horizon. Every street, every balcony, every screen across the galaxy showed one thing: the wedding that was meant to end 100 years of blood and fire. Princess Liara of the Zenthari Empire, heir to the High Empress, stood before a sea of witnesses. Her silver-blue gown rippled like liquid starlight, its threads made from light itself. Around her, alien nobles in jeweled robes watched with unreadable faces. The scent of rare flowers from distant moons filled the air. Music, soft, ancient, and sacred, echoed through the Temple of Clouds, and beside her stood Captain Daniel Ward, the first human to ever step inside the Imperial Palace of Aloria without chains. He wore the white uniform of Earth's Peace Division, a symbol of honor and humility. His face was calm, his eyes steady, his hands clasped before him. To most of the audience he looked ordinary, just another human, smaller and less radiant than the tall, luminous Zenthari around him. But when he looked at Liara, something changed in his eyes. There was warmth there, and pain, and something deeper, something she couldn't quite understand. Liara had agreed to this marriage not for love, but for peace. The war between humans and Zenthari had lasted a century. Entire planets had burned. Both sides had lost millions. The Empress had said, "One union, one promise, and the bloodshed will stop." So Liara accepted. And Daniel, the human hero who had saved a colony from destruction, accepted too. Now as the High Priest raised his hands to bless the union, the galaxy held its breath. "By the bond of two souls, may our worlds become one," the priest declared. "May peace be reborn through love." The crowd erupted in thunderous applause. Fireworks burst in the skies above the palace. Drones hovered to capture every perfect moment. The galaxy's leaders smiled for the cameras, pretending to believe in a new age of unity. But not everyone was celebrating. In the shadows of the upper galleries, alien diplomats whispered to each other. "She chose a human. Peace built on weakness never lasts. The Empress gambles with destiny." Even among Daniel's own people there were doubters. On the human flagship orbiting Aloria, soldiers watched the ceremony with cold eyes. Some still carried scars from Zenthari plasma burns. Some had lost families to their raids. They didn't want peace, they wanted revenge. Liara looked at Daniel as the crowd cheered. "They hate you," she whispered softly, her voice lost under the music. Daniel smiled faintly. "They hate peace more." Something about his tone sent a shiver through her. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't angry. It was as if he'd already accepted something she couldn't see. The wedding continued. Vows were exchanged. Rings of crystal light were bound to their wrists, glowing softly as they touched. Cameras captured their first kiss, gentle, formal, a symbol of duty more than desire. Yet in that moment, a faint spark passed between them. A strange pulse of energy flickered in the air, almost too faint to notice. One of the guards shifted uneasily. "Did you feel that?" he murmured. His partner frowned. "Just the energy fields, relax." But Liara had felt it too, a warmth spreading through her arm, then fading away. She looked at Daniel, who stood motionless beside her. His expression was still calm, but his jaw was tight, and his gaze lingered somewhere far beyond the horizon. The ceremony ended, and the celebration began. Dancers filled the plaza, banners waved across the clouds, and the people below shouted with joy. The Empress herself stepped forward, placing her hand on Daniel's shoulder. "You are welcome among us, human," she said formally. "Let this day be remembered as the day the galaxy changed." Daniel bowed respectfully. "It's an honor, Your Majesty." But deep inside, something inside him stirred. A quiet hum, a pressure he hadn't felt in years. He closed his hand slowly, feeling the faint crackle of energy beneath his skin. For a brief second, the air around him shimmered. He hid his hand behind his back, forcing his breath steady. No one must know. Not yet. As the twin suns began to set, the wedding ships rose into the air to start the grand procession. Liara and Daniel stood together on the balcony of the royal cruiser, waving to the crowds below. It looked perfect. Two worlds united at last. Then, without warning, the sky flickered. A flash of white light split the horizon, followed by a deep, echoing boom that shook the entire palace. The clouds above Eloria turned red with fire, an explosion. Far away, but massive. Too massive. The crowd fell silent. The music stopped. Liara turned toward the sky, her eyes wide with disbelief. "That's a human ship," she whispered. "One of yours." Daniel's heart froze. He recognized the ship's silhouette, the Resolute, a flagship carrying over 2,000 souls. His friends. His comrades. And now it was nothing but burning debris falling through the clouds. The Empress shouted orders. Soldiers scrambled. The peace treaty was barely minutes old, and already the first shot had been fired. Liara looked at Daniel in horror. "What have you done?" Daniel's voice broke low and sharp. "That wasn't us. Someone wants this to fail." The twin suns vanished behind the smoke. Panic spread across Eloria. The dream of peace shattered in a single instant. And above the screaming crowd, Daniel lifted his gaze to the burning sky. Something inside him, something he had buried long ago, began to awaken. For the first time since the war ended, the galaxy trembled again. The fires over Eloria burned for hours. The shining city that had once looked like a symbol of peace now floated under a sky of red smoke. Reports flooded every screen, every communication channel across the galaxy. A human warship had attacked the Zenthari fleet, destroying a vessel filled with diplomats and soldiers. Peace had lasted less than 1 hour. Princess Liara sat in the royal chamber, still in her wedding dress, watching the destruction replay over and over again. Her hands trembled as she listened to the council shout and accuse. The alien lords demanded justice. Some cried for war. Others said the humans had planned this all along. At the center of the chaos stood Captain Daniel Ward, silent and still, his face unreadable. He had spent the last hour explaining that he knew nothing about the attack, that the humans on the ship had not received any orders from him or Earth Command. But the council did not believe him. "A weapon of peace," they said, hissed one counselor. "I see no peace, only fire." Another pointed at him with a trembling finger. "He came here to finish what his people started." Daniel said nothing. His eyes were fixed on the holographic display showing the wreckage of the human ship, its metal bones glowing as it fell into Eloria's lower atmosphere. Liara watched him, torn between fear and confusion. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust the man she had just promised her life to. But she could see it, the same quiet storm behind his eyes that she had noticed at the ceremony. When the meeting ended, the Empress ordered that Daniel be kept under watch. "Until we uncover the truth," she said coldly. "He will not leave this palace." Liara wanted to speak, but her mother's gaze silenced her. Daniel was escorted to a guarded chamber. That night, Liara went to him. The guards allowed her to enter, though they warned her it was unwise. She found Daniel standing by the window, staring out at the endless city lights below. His wedding ring of crystal light still glowed faintly on his wrist. "You should rest," she said softly. "The council believes you are responsible. Do you?" he asked without turning. His voice was calm, but she heard the weight behind it. "I don't know," she admitted. "Tell me what happened." Daniel sighed and finally looked at her. "The ship that exploded, the Resolute, it was under strict peace protocols. No weapons active. No reason to fire. This wasn't a human order. Someone wanted this to happen. Someone." Liara frowned. "Who?" "Someone who fears peace," he said. "Someone who profits from war." His eyes narrowed slightly, as if he could see beyond the walls. "And I think they're still here." Liara stepped closer, lowering her voice. "The council won't listen. They already want blood." Daniel gave a small, tired smile. "Then we'll find proof ourselves." She hesitated. "If you're lying..." He met her gaze firmly. "Then you'll see soon enough." That night, as the city slept under curfew, Daniel moved quietly through the palace corridors. He used codes he shouldn't have known, passing locked doors and security fields with ease. Liara followed, hidden in the shadows, unsure whether to stop him or trust him. He led her into the palace's communication core, a vast hall of glowing crystals and data streams. "What are you doing?" she whispered. Daniel knelt beside a console, his hands moving fast over the interface, checking the transmission logs. "Every fleet ship reports to the central network here. If the Resolute was ordered to fire, it would show up." The lights flickered. A strange static filled the air. "Wait," Liara said. "That's restricted." I know. The console beeped, and suddenly a burst of encrypted messages filled the screen. Liara's eyes widened. What is this? Daniel's expression darkened. Orders, fake ones. Someone sent false attack commands to both sides. From where? She asked. Here, he said quietly. From Eloria itself. Before they could say another word, alarms blared. The chamber doors slammed shut. Dozens of guards stormed in, their weapons raised. At their head stood Lord Vekar, the Empress's chief advisor. Step away from the console, Vekar ordered. You are under arrest. Liara stepped forward. Wait, he's innocent. The signal came from inside the palace. But Vekar's cold eyes did not soften. Princess, you have been deceived. This human is a spy. The Empress will see this for what it is. Treason. Daniel clenched his fists, but he didn't resist. The guards cuffed him with magnetic restraints. As they dragged him away, he looked back at Liara and whispered, Trust the data. Don't let them bury it. She wanted to shout, to fight, but her voice broke. She watched as he disappeared down the corridor, surrounded by armored soldiers. When she turned back to the console, the data was gone, wiped clean. The screen flickered once, then went dark. Liara's heart pounded. Someone powerful wanted the truth buried. And now Daniel was their scapegoat. The next morning, the Empress announced to the galaxy that the marriage alliance was suspended and that Captain Daniel Ward was under investigation for sabotage. Protests erupted on both worlds. Humans claimed he was framed. Xanthari demanded his execution. Liara stood alone in her chambers, watching the chaos unfold. She remembered his last words, Trust the data. That night, unable to sleep, she activated a hidden console in her private study. With shaking hands, she searched through the fragments of code Daniel had accessed. For a moment, nothing appeared. Then, buried deep within the system, she found a single trace of a sender's mark, a signature that didn't belong to any Xanthari or human database. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat, and one word flashed in alien script before vanishing, Vor. Liara's breath caught. Whoever the Vor were, they were inside the palace, and they had just started a war. And somewhere in his cell, Daniel, Ward was sitting in silence, eyes closed, feeling that strange power hum beneath his skin again, knowing this was only the beginning. Days passed in silence. Captain Daniel Ward sat inside his cell beneath the royal palace of Eloria, a prison made of glass and energy fields. From there he could see the city's lights flicker above him, like distant stars. Guards changed shifts every few hours, always watching, always afraid. Some called him a traitor. Others whispered that he was a weapon. Daniel ignored them all. He had faced worse than prison. He had faced himself. Liara, meanwhile, fought against the council's judgment. The Empress refused to listen. The human knew what he was doing, she said coldly. Peace cannot be built on lies. Liara begged her to reconsider, but the Empress only replied, You let your heart blind you, my daughter. Still, Liara couldn't stop thinking about the strange word she had found in the data Daniel uncovered, Vor. It didn't belong to any known species. It wasn't human or Xanthari. Something else had interfered, something unseen. She needed proof. But first, she needed Daniel. One night, she bribed the guards with royal tokens and slipped into the detention wing. The corridors were dim, silent except for the soft hum of energy shields. Daniel looked up as she entered, his eyes tired but calm. You shouldn't be here, he said quietly. They'll find you. I don't care, she whispered. You were right. The orders came from somewhere else. I found a name for. Does it mean anything to you? Daniel's expression darkened. He closed his eyes for a long moment. Yes, the Vor Dominion. They're not from this galaxy. They use chaos to break empires before they invade. I fought them once, long ago. Liara frowned. That's impossible. The Vor are only myths. No, he said softly. They're real, and they're coming. Before she could ask more, she noticed his hands. Faint blue lines pulsed beneath his skin, glowing through the dim light of the cell. What is that? She asked, stepping closer. He hesitated, then sighed. Something I was never supposed to have. He held up his hands, and the air shimmered faintly around them. Years ago, before the ceasefire, Earth's military created a project called Ascend. They wanted to build the perfect soldier. Faster, stronger, able to survive anything. I was one of them. The first. But it didn't go as planned. You mean they turned you into... this? She said in disbelief. Daniel nodded slowly. They said it would make me a protector, but I became a weapon they couldn't control. I left before they could use me. Liara stared at him, torn between fear and awe. So the power inside you, it's human science? Partly, he said. The rest, I don't even know. Whatever it is, it's not just technology. Sometimes it feels alive. Silence filled the room. Outside, thunder rolled across the floating city. Liara finally spoke. You can't stay here. If the council learns what you are, they'll kill you. Daniel gave a faint smile. They'll kill me anyway. Then we escape, she said firmly. Together. He looked at her with quiet surprise. You'd risk everything for me? For peace, she answered. If you die, war begins again. I won't let that happen. For a moment, something softened in his expression. Then he nodded. There's a maintenance shaft behind this cell block. I saw it when they brought me in. But it's sealed by energy fields. Liara's eyes glowed faintly as she touched the control panel. Leave that to me. With a flick of her wrist, her royal crest activated and the barriers flickered. Sparks filled the air. Daniel stepped through as the field broke, the blue light in his skin glowing brighter for a moment, before fading again. You really are a princess, he murmured. Don't thank me yet, she replied. We still have to survive. They slipped through the dark tunnels beneath the palace, avoiding patrol drones and scanning lights. Every step echoed softly on the metal floor. As they reached the outer gate, alarms suddenly blared. They know, Liara gasped. Daniel turned, eyes blazing with sudden light. Run! He pushed her ahead, then spun to face the guards pouring in from both sides. Energy bolts shot through the air. With one motion, Daniel raised his hand, and a wave of blue force exploded outward, knocking the soldiers back like leaves in a storm. The metal walls rippled from the impact. Liara froze, staring in shock. He had barely moved, yet the entire corridor shook. Go, he shouted, his voice almost thunderous. She ran toward the hangar, her heart pounding. When Daniel caught up, smoke and sparks filled the tunnel behind him. His uniform was torn, but his eyes burned brighter than ever. How did you... No time, he said. They climbed into a small transport shuttle and blasted into the night sky. The city lights vanished beneath them. For the first time since their wedding, Liara looked at him not as a husband or soldier, but as something far greater and far more dangerous. You can't hide this, she said softly as they entered orbit. If the galaxy learns what you can do, they'll fear me, Daniel finished. They already do. He looked out the window at the stars. But fear isn't what I want. I just want them to stop killing each other. Then we prove the truth, Liara said. We find the Vor and show everyone who started this. He nodded. If we survive long enough. Below them, the palace alarms echoed through the clouds. The Empress herself watched from her tower, fury burning in her eyes as she saw their ship escaping into the night. Find them, she ordered. Bring them back alive if you can. If not, destroy them. Far above the planet, Daniel's hands trembled. The blue light under his skin pulsed faster, stronger, almost alive. He gritted his teeth. Not now, he whispered. Not yet. Liara glanced at him. What's wrong? The power, he said. It's waking up again. She reached for his hand. Then hold on to me, don't let it control you. For a moment the light dimmed, his breathing steadied, and silence filled the ship. Outside, stars stretched into infinity, but somewhere, deep within the darkness of space, a shadow moved. A fleet hidden among the void, marked with a single emblem glowing red. Vor Dominion. And as Daniel and Liara disappeared into hyperspace, a faint transmission echoed through the dark. The Ascended One lives. Begin the harvest. The news of their escape spread faster than light. Across the galaxy, every channel, every transmission, Every news feed showed the same image: Princess Liara of the Zenthari fleeing with the human captain who had destroyed peace. Some called it betrayal, others called it proof that humans could never be trusted. The Empress appeared before the council, her voice cold as iron. "My daughter has been deceived," she declared. "This human is dangerous, perhaps even non-human. He must be captured before he brings more destruction." Fleet after fleet launched from Zenthari docks, their warships glowing like blades in the dark. Human leaders, terrified of losing face, sent their own forces to intercept. Within hours, the galaxy that had once cheered for peace was preparing for war again. Meanwhile, Daniel and Liara drifted in the small transport ship, hiding among the outer rings of a frozen planet. The ship's systems were damaged, energy was running low. Daniel worked silently to repair the engines, while Liara watched the distant flashes of warships scanning the skies. "They're looking for us," she said softly. "Both sides." "They won't stop," Daniel replied. "To them, I'm the spark that started this fire. You can't fight an entire galaxy." "I don't want to," he said. "I just want to find the truth before it's too late." Liara leaned against the console, her voice low. "You." The galaxy watched in disbelief. Every screen, every broadcast, every mind turned toward the same image: a human glowing like a star, rising alone against fleets of warships. Daniel Ward had become the center of the storm. The Zenthari called him a monster, the humans called him a traitor, but to those who still believed in peace, he was something else entirely, proof that one soul could stand against an empire. His body cut through space like a comet, leaving trails of blue light behind him as ships chased him through the void. Plasma fire streaked across the black sky, explosions blossoming like dying suns. Liara's voice echoed through his comm, filled with panic. "Daniel, stop. You'll kill yourself." "If I don't stop them, they'll kill everyone," he replied. His voice was steady, but every breath came harder than the last. The power inside him surged, wild and furious, demanding to be unleashed. "The Vor are watching," he said. "They want me to lose control. They want the galaxy to fear me." "Then don't give them what they want," Liara shouted. "There has to be another way." "Not this time." He looked ahead. The fleets had surrounded the void ring, a vast abandoned station orbiting the remains of a shattered moon. It was once a mining outpost, now a graveyard of metal. If he could lure the fleets there, maybe he could stop them without killing. "Liara," he said softly, "if I fail, tell them the truth." "You won't fail," she said, but her voice shook. The human and Zenthari fleets opened fire at once. The sky filled with light and death. Daniel raised his hands, and a sphere of blue energy spread from his body like a shield. The first barrage hit and stopped. The energy bent around him, harmless, as if the universe itself refused to touch him. Then he moved, faster than light, faster than thought. He struck the weapons arrays of one ship, disabling it without destroying it. He caught missiles in mid-flight and hurled them back into the void. He deflected plasma bolts with his bare hands, each motion leaving trails of glowing fire. The galaxy watched live as one man fought an armada and survived. "Impossible," whispered a human commander. "He's not a man." "He's a god," said a Zenthari general, trembling. But Daniel felt no triumph. Every second hurt. The power inside him burned like a living thing, tearing at his veins, trying to break free. He gritted his teeth, forcing it back. He couldn't lose control. "Not yet." "Liara," he gasped. "Get clear of the station, now." "No," she said from the escape shuttle nearby. "I won't leave you." "Please," he said quietly. "You once said you married me for peace. Don't die for war." Her eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "Don't you dare die on me, Daniel Ward." The fleets began to regroup, forming a deadly circle. The Empress herself appeared on the command screen, her face cold and radiant. "Human," she said. "You've brought ruin to my empire. Surrender, and I may spare your life." Daniel looked up, sweat and blood glistening on his face. "Your Majesty," he said, "I didn't start this war. The Vor did. They're using us like pawns." The Empress's eyes narrowed. "Lies, you think I'll fall for your tricks?" "Then watch the stars," he said. Even as he spoke, the void ring began to tremble. A shadow passed behind it, massive, silent, and dark as death. The Vor fleet had arrived. Black ships like blades of night emerged from hyperspace, hundreds of them. their weapons glowing red. The Empress froze. The human commanders fell silent. What are those?" she whispered. Daniel's voice was calm. "The real enemy." The Vor opened fire without warning. Their energy beams tore through both fleets alike, human and Xanthari ships exploding side by side. "They don't care who wins," Daniel said. "They just want the survivors weak." The Empress watched in horror as her flagship shook under impact. "All units fall back. Retreat." But it was too late. The Vor weapons cut through shields like paper. Daniel rose higher, his body blazing with light, his voice echoing through every frequency. "Listen to me. Stop fighting each other. The Vor are the enemy." No one responded. Panic spread. The void burned with chaos. Daniel clenched his fists. "Then I'll end it myself." The light inside him surged, brighter and brighter, until the stars themselves seemed to fade. The Vor ships turned their guns toward him, sensing the threat. Liara screamed through the comm, "Daniel, no!" He closed his eyes. For peace. And then he unleashed it. A wave of pure energy exploded outward from his body, silent and blinding. It ripped through space, tearing the Vor fleet apart in seconds. Ships disintegrated into dust, weapons melted. Space itself shimmered like water. For a moment the universe held its breath. When the light faded, nothing moved. The Vor fleet was gone. The human and Xanthari ships drifted silently, powerless, stunned. Daniel floated in the center of it all, his body surrounded by soft, fading light. He looked like a fallen star. "It's over," he whispered. "It's finally over." Liara's shuttle reached him moments later. She rushed to his side, catching him as he began to fall. His eyes were dim, his breath shallow. "You saved them," she said, tears streaking her face. "You saved us all." He smiled weakly. "I told you." Peace was worth it. "Stay with me," she begged. But his body was fading, the blue light slowly dying. "Tell them the truth," he whispered. "Tell them what humans can be." His hand went limp in hers. For a long moment Liara held him, surrounded by the silence of the stars. Then, behind her, the surviving ships began to broadcast a single message across the galaxy. "The human saved us." Across countless worlds, people wept, prayed, and whispered his name. Some called him a hero, others called him a god. But Liara only called him what he had always been, Daniel, the man who believed peace was stronger than fear. And as she looked into the endless stars, she felt a pulse in the void, faint but alive like a heartbeat returning from the dark. He was not gone. Not yet. The galaxy mourned and celebrated at once. Across thousands of systems, stories spread of the human who stood against the Vor and saved both empires. Statues rose in his name, songs were written, and peace treaties were signed faster than any before. For the first time in centuries, humans and Xanthari spoke without fear, but not everyone believed in the miracle. In secret chambers deep within the rebuilt city of Aloria, the High Empress met with her council. Holographic screens flickered with Daniel Ward's image, his glowing eyes, his final sacrifice. "He was too powerful," the Empress said coldly. "No being should hold that kind of strength. Even in death, he's a threat." A Xanthari general bowed. "Your Majesty, the people see him as a savior. If you speak against him, there will be riots." "Then we won't speak," she replied. "We'll watch, and we'll make sure he never returns." Unknown to them, far beyond the reach of any empire, in the shadow of the ruined void ring, something stirred. A single spark of blue light pulsed within the wreckage. The light spread slowly, gathering energy from the dead ships, rebuilding itself. A voice whispered faintly in the void, "Liara," then silence. Weeks passed. Liara now ruled beside her mother, representing both species as a symbol of unity. Her speeches brought hope, her kindness rebuilt faith. But every night she looked at the stars and wondered. The scientists had found no trace of Daniel's body, only fragments of his energy. "He's gone," they told her. No human could survive that blast. Yet she felt something different, a faint warmth whenever she closed her eyes as if he was still watching. Then came the signal. It was weak, hidden among the transmissions from a border outpost near the edge of the Vor ruins. The message was short, broken by interference. "Liara, it's... Stay away." Her heart stopped. "Daniel." She ran to the communication tower herself, playing the message again and again. The technicians tried to explain it as an echo, an energy remnant, but she knew that voice. It was him. "Prepare my ship," she ordered. "Your Majesty, it could be a trap," her guard protested. "Then let it be," she said. She left that same night, taking only a small crew and a ship disguised as a freighter. When they reached the outpost, they found it half destroyed. Floating debris, broken satellites, and strange energy readings filled the scanners. No life signs, the pilot said, but Liara felt something alive just beyond the sensors. "Scan again," she whispered. The pilot hesitated. "There's something," he said finally. "A heat signature inside the Vor wreckage. It's human." Liara's eyes filled with tears. "Bring us closer." The ship drifted toward the shattered remains of the Vor command vessel. It looked like a dead world, blackened metal and twisted hulls spinning through darkness. They found him inside a broken chamber, surrounded by faint blue light. His body floated weightless, eyes closed, armor cracked but glowing softly. "Daniel," Liara whispered. The moment she touched him, the light flared. His eyes opened. For a second, he didn't move. Then he spoke, his voice weak but real. "You shouldn't have come," she gasped. "You're alive." "Barely," he said. "The blast didn't kill me, it changed me. I'm not fully human anymore." Before she could answer, alarms rang through the ship. "Multiple signatures inbound," the pilot shouted. "They're not Vor, they're human." Dozens of ships dropped out of hyperspace, surrounding them. "Identify yourselves," barked a voice over the comm. "This area is restricted." Liara stepped forward. "This is Princess Liara of the Zenthari Empire. I'm recovering a survivor, Captain Daniel Ward." There was silence. Then the voice returned, colder. "Captain Ward is declared a galactic threat. You are ordered to hand him over immediately." Liara's blood ran cold. "By whose order?" "By the United Human Command," the voice replied. "He carries something inside him, a weapon stronger than the Vor." Daniel looked down at his hands, the faint blue energy pulsing through his veins. "They're right," he said quietly. "The power didn't die. It fused with me." "Then we'll find a way to control it," Liara said. "We'll make them understand." Daniel shook his head. "They don't want to understand. They want to own it." Outside, the ships armed their weapons. "Surrender him now," the commander said. Liara stood tall. "You'll have to go through me." "So be it." The first volley hit, shaking the ship. Daniel closed his eyes, his energy flaring. "No," he whispered. "No more death." He raised his hand, and the incoming plasma bolts froze mid-air. Every weapon, every missile, every beam stopped. The human fleet panicked. "What's happening?" "He's overriding our systems." "It's not me," Daniel said, his voice echoing strangely. "It's the power, it's awake." His eyes glowed brighter until the entire chamber filled with light. Liara reached for him. "Daniel, fight it." "I'm trying," he said through gritted teeth. "But it wants to spread. It's not just power anymore. Here's consciousness." The light exploded outward, disabling every ship in range. When it faded, Daniel collapsed. Liara caught him before he hit the floor. "Daniel, stay with me." His voice was faint. "They'll come again. The Empress, the humans, they'll all come. They'll think I'm a weapon. Then we'll show them you're not." "You don't understand," he said, his eyes filled with fear. "The power inside me, it's alive. And it's whispering." "What is it saying?" she asked. His answer sent chills through her blood. "It's saying—" "The Vor weren't the first." Silence fell. Outside, the dead ships drifted, their lights flickering. Liara looked at the stars, her heart heavy with a new truth. The Vor had been enemies, yes, but something greater was coming, something that even they had feared. And now that power was inside Daniel. As the ship turned toward home, she held his hand tightly, whispering, "Whatever comes next, we face it together." But deep in his mind, beneath layers of light and pain, another voice whispered back, cold, ancient, and patient. "Together," it said, until the end. The stars had never looked so quiet. Liara's ship drifted through the endless dark, carrying the man who had once saved the galaxy and now carried something far more dangerous inside him. Daniel lay in the medbay, pale and still, his body glowing faintly under the scanners. Every few minutes, a pulse of blue light spread from his chest like a heartbeat. The machines around him flickered whenever it happened, as if his energy was alive. interfering with reality itself. Liara sat beside him, refusing to leave. "He's stabilizing," said Dr. Wren, the ship's medic. "But the readings are impossible. His cells are changing. Not human, not Zenthari. Something new." Liara touched his hand gently. "He's still Daniel." "For now," Wren replied grimly. "But whatever's inside him, it's growing." Outside the window, the stars twisted, warping slightly whenever Daniel exhaled. Space itself seemed to react to his presence. Days passed. As Liara's ship neared the neutral sector, strange signals began to appear on the radar. Ghost transmissions, old Vor codes, and whispers from frequencies no one had used in centuries. Then one night, while the rest of the crew slept, Liara woke to the sound of a voice. It wasn't human. It came from everywhere at once. The walls, the floor, the air around her. "Daughter of Zenthari," it whispered. "He is the key." She froze. "Who are you?" The voice echoed softly. "We are the first light. The Vor were our shadows." Liara's blood ran cold. "The Vor? We're shadows." "They served us once," the voice said. "Then they betrayed us. They stole fragments of the ascended power, trying to make themselves gods. But the true source was never theirs. It sleeps now inside the human you love. What do you want from him?" she demanded. "He must awaken. The cycle begins again." The voice faded, leaving only silence. Liara rushed to Daniel's side. His body trembled, glowing brighter with every breath. "Daniel, wake up," she said urgently. His eyes snapped open, glowing white. The medbay lights shattered. "Liara," he said weakly. "They're calling me." "Who?" she asked. "The ones before the Vor," he whispered. "They want me to finish what they started." The ship's alarms blared. Dr. Wren ran in, shouting, "He's destabilizing! The energy's off the charts!" The hull began to creak as gravitational waves rippled through the vessel. Liara grabbed Daniel's hand. "Fight it. You're stronger than them." "It's not them," he said through clenched teeth. "It's me." The floor cracked beneath them. Space outside twisted violently, forming a massive vortex of light. "What's happening?" Wren shouted. Daniel rose slowly from the bed, floating, his body surrounded by blue fire. "They're showing me everything," he said in awe. "The wars before time, the birth of the Vor, the rise of the first light, the power that built galaxies and destroyed them." Liara's voice shook. "Daniel, stop. You'll tear the ship apart." "I can't stop," he said, his voice echoing with something not entirely human. "They're unlocking the rest." "Who's they?" "The memory of creation." The vortex outside widened until it filled the entire viewport, showing glimpses of impossible worlds, cities made of light, stars forming like raindrops, beings of pure energy walking across nebulae. Liara shielded her eyes. "Daniel!" she cried. "Come back to me." For a moment he looked at her. The light dimmed. "Liara," he said softly, "I remember now. The Vor weren't trying to conquer the galaxy, they were running." "From what?" "From me." Silence fell. The fire around him faded, leaving only a faint glow. He collapsed into her arms, unconscious. The vortex outside vanished, leaving the stars calm again. Wren rushed forward, scanning him. His vitals are stable, but his energy signature just changed again. Liara looked at the readings. The symbols on the screen were unlike anything human or Zenthari, ancient, almost divine. "What does it mean?" she asked. "It means he's evolving," Wren said. "And if it continues, he won't be human anymore." Liara brushed Daniel's hair back, whispering, "You'll always be you." But in her heart, fear grew. If he was connected to something that powerful, what would happen when he woke again? The answer came sooner than she thought. Hours later, the ship dropped out of hyperspace into the orbit of Aloria. The Empress herself was waiting, her fleet surrounding the planet. "Welcome home, daughter," the Empress said over the comm, her tone sharp. "I see you've found your lost human." Liara hesitated. "He's alive, but changed." "We know," the Empress replied. "Our sensors detected his energy days ago. You've brought danger back to our world." "He saved it once," Liara snapped. "And he can do it again." "No," the Empress said coldly. "He's not a man anymore. He's a weapon. And weapons must be contained." Before Liara could respond, the fleet locked their weapons. "Mother, please," she shouted. But the Empress didn't answer. A blast struck the side of Liara's ship, throwing her to the ground. "Shields failing," Ren shouted. Daniel stirred, his body glowing again. "What's happening?" "They're attacking us," Liara said desperately. "They think you're dangerous." Daniel stood slowly, light pouring from his eyes. "They're right," he said quietly. He raised his hand and the energy around him pulsed once. Every ship in the Empress's fleet froze in mid-space. "Daniel, stop," Liara cried. "You'll kill them." "I'm not trying to," he said. "I'm showing them what's coming." He looked to the stars beyond Eloria, his face pale with fear. "They're here." In the distance, the darkness rippled. Dozens of shapes emerged, massive, ancient, and pulsing with the same blue energy that flowed through him. The first light had returned. Their voices echoed through the void, ancient and calm. "Our child has awakened. The final dawn begins." Liara stared at them in horror. "Daniel, what are they?" He looked at her, sadness in his eyes. "They're what made me." And as the first light descended on the galaxy, every star began to flicker, as if the universe itself were holding its breath for what came next.